Today, when we say adult Pokemon, you say guns and murder. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint, where today I am EP.
EP boy need nine time?
Yeah, just a sleep-jula guy from Big Night of Writing Jokums.
You want me to take the first story?
Oh, please.
Exciting news today in the world of gacha rhythm games. Bushiroad has announced that Love Live! School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live is finally releasing a global version in order to suck all of the money out of your wallet in the correct currency. Love Live! School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live was initially released solely for the Japanese market, though a global version was supposed to arrive in December 2023. Its new release date is February 2024, so start saving all of your disposable income to help these imaginary girls save the orphanage or whatever.
Fantastic, who you may recall are the developers of The Day Before, a game maligned so hard it was scoured from the earth only 4 days after release, would like to set the record straight. In a statement released on Twitter, they said that they never took crowdfunding money, and in fact, forcibly refunded people who didn't even request refunds, and they said that people claiming to be former employees are slandering their good name, and that despite what some people say, they did implement everything that they showed in the trailer, except parkour, which immediately means it's not everything, but I digress. During writing this story, I went to read that statement on Fantastic's Twitter account, but the post was gone. They had, however, reposted it, and the repost featured the last bastion of truth on Twitter, a community note. It's very clear that even Elon Musk doesn't know who's writing these notes or how to disable them, considering how often they dunk on him personally. But in this case, the note alleges that Fantastic deleted and reposted their statement in an attempt to dodge a previous community note that linked to a video unfavorably comparing footage from the day before's trailer to its release gameplay. This new note then links to that video again. Anyway, if this whole thing doesn't seem petty enough yet, the statement also answers the question, so who made money from this game? With the answer, bloggers made huge money by creating false content, which triggered a gold rush of content creators. And I don't know, if they really believed in this game as much as they're claiming, maybe they should have left it online for longer than 4 days. Anyway, between the first draft of this story and now, Fantastic has taken down the second tweet, and now their Twitter bio just says that you should go to their website for any recent statements. And hey, wait a minute, didn't you say you were shutting down entirely? I'm starting to think Fantastic may not be a reliable narrator.
Tragic news today in the world of gacha rhythm games. Bushiroad has announced that Love Live! School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live global version will cease operation in May 2024, as it is assumed you are already out of money. Love Live! School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live global version was initially released next month. That's February 2024, and at this rate of attrition, a new gacha rhythm game should start releasing and ceasing spaced apart every 24 weeks, then 12, then 6, then every 2 weeks. We should see a double event within 7 days. Bushiroad has thanked all of you in advance for contributing to their bottom line, so be sure to get in there and spin up as many ultra rares as you can, since you'll only get to keep them until May. And you wouldn't want your waifu to find out, would you?
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast. In a couple of ways, both sales figures and wildly hectic internet discourse. And over what? Okay, for those who've been busy in the past several days and missed a thing happening, Palworld is a new survival game that's been vaguely on some people's radar since 2021 and saw its proper release into early access earlier this week, after which it has absolutely rocketed to the top of Steam's charts. In fact, it's one of the highest-selling, most concurrently played games ever. Hooray! Right? God, no, this is the internet. The developer, Pocket Pair, has been happily embracing somewhat edgy marketing tactics for a few years now, welcoming the notion that the game is Pokemon with guns, and courting those who think the Pokemon franchise needs games that are more mature in theme and more polished in presentation, while at the same time garnering negative reactions for not necessarily being either of those things, and looking like they copied the Pokemon company's homework but barely changed their answers. Look, if you're still trying to keep up, and fair, I'm going to throw some facts at you, and then I'll tell you when I'm getting back to editorializing. One, it's not even slightly a Pokemon game. It's a survival game, more akin to Ark or Rust. Two, you can use a small spherical item to capture pals, many of whom share designs very evocative of Pokemon, and you put them to work in your base, building or foraging for resources. Three, despite the developer previously making a game about using generative AI, there is no evidence to suggest that this game used AI in its development, and indeed, they have not disclosed any kind of AI use to Steam, as Valve now requires. Four, it costs $35. And it looks and plays like a game that should cost about $35. Okay, I'm going to go back to editorializing about 5 seconds ago. But that's not even really the story here, because the vitriol being hurled around online about this game is astounding, from people tearing it down that they've fully ripped assets directly from Pokemon games, which is wholly unproven at this time, to players claiming that anyone with a bad word against the game is some kind of poke shill. And it's baffling because... Okay, look, the discourse has gotten so weirdly heated that I'm going to preemptively buffer myself with this. I am not a Pokemon fan. In fact, I've watched my 8-year-old play Pokemon games, and I think they look like ass, and the franchise deserves better. So this is not born of jealousy or gamer tribalism, but Palworld is functional. The pals are very obviously ripoffs of Pokemon designs, but, they can do that. They also ripped off the Bokoblins from Breath of the Wild, not to mention some Zelda UI elements, plus other UI and systems from Ark. There are levels that look like Hollow Knight, and I'm pretty sure the key art on their roadmap features legally distinct Suicune being ridden by legally distinct Aloy from Horizon. But you can do that. People have been making obvious ripoffs of popular things forever. They're usually pretty bad, especially when a main selling point is, haha, what if they had guns? Or what if you worked not Wooloo so hard in the mine that they got depressed and died? Which is also a thing that can happen in Palworld. But conversely, Palworld is absolutely not a parody of Pokemon, the most unhinged defense of the game that I've repeatedly read. None of this is parody. It's just a ripoff, and that can happen. And in the game's defense, despite the fact that you can capture humans and put them to work in your base, Palworld no more promotes slavery than any other number of worker placement games. Again, a real accusation people have been using to attack the game. Maybe the game is just mid and doesn't deserve the levels of success or hatred that it's achieved. Is that why people are so mad? Is the game popular because it's fun? Or because the demand for adult Pokemon is just that high and guns means adult? Or because a lot of creators have nothing else to stream right now and got offered no strings attached free codes for the game, like we did? I just don't understand how this game launched 3 days ago, and there are thousands of people who've suddenly made fervently attacking or rabidly defending this deeply mediocre-looking pile of clumsily assembled mechanics and art styles their entire personality. But maybe the Pokemon Company themselves will have something to say about this whole thing. Beej?
Well, if you've been wringing your hands and gnashing your teeth at the blatant appropriation of your beloved Pocket Monster fandom, I have reassuring news. The Pokemon Company is aware of other companies' games. I am quoting that from the Pokemon Company's new banger of a press release, inquiries regarding other companies' games. Big Poke keeps it short and simple too. Quote, "We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future." I love how devilishly coy they're being about this. It's very cute, and absolutely a great way to flirt with the new kid who just transferred into your school. But the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Or something, whatever. The Pokemon Company is saying that this another company has not received permission to use Pokemon IP in this game released in January 2024. But But this also means that not another company, which in this case has to mean a company that is part of the Pokemon company, and that means Nintendo, has received permission to use Pokemon IP in a game released in January 2024. Therefore, look forward to Ashley Mizuki Robbins point and clicking around with Eevee and Snorlax to look for her dead dad in Another Code Recollection.
Now, Pokemon Company did cease and desist a mod for Palworld that put literal Pokemon in the game.
The modders should do what they do for every game and just add 2B from Nier Automata.
Oh, yeah, Yoko Taro doesn't give a shit.
Coming up, speaking with GamesIndustry.biz, anonymous industry analysts say the games industry should prepare to endure 2 years of pain, which will be a fun change since the past several years have been so joyous and positive.
What bugs me about Palworld?
Yes?
Yeah, from watching footage of it. I have not played it, even though we did just get given a code.
Yeah.
Our Twitch rep was like, hey, you want this? We're giving them out like friggin' popcorn.
Of course
I'm
you
like,
are.
I'm like, oh, okay, so there's the marketing strategy, sure. Is giving them out like popcorn? What a mad thing to say. It's the thing you give away. You work on the metaphor yourself. Tell me in the comments.
Halloween candy.
Sure.
Razor blades. Razor blades and Halloween candy. Yeah.
Perfect. Is like, it doesn't look cohesive.
The game itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a mishmash of we grabbed a bunch of things that you'll kind of recognize.
Yeah.
It'll be like, lol, now I can play
Like,
this.
there's all the pals, which I do not believe are directly pulled from assets torn out of the source code of Pokemon games, but are undeniably rip-offs of Pokemon,
Sure.
which you can do.
Yep.
And then the guns are like hyper-realistic.
Yeah.
It's like, this doesn't... The game looks like an asset flip.
Yeah.
I'm not
Except-
saying it is.
yeah.
In fact, I don't believe it is.
No.
They've been working on it for years. I think they made all this stuff. I just think that like their art direction is so scattershot, and like when you get to a new area, the area thing comes up exactly like Breath of the Wild, like the same little with like the text treatment and everything, and it's like it's so odd.
Yeah.
It's very
It's many disparate elements shoved together in a way that you're kind of like, I think that all this is homage after homage after homage. And it's like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel like that though.
Yeah, and if you're finding it fun, then God, more power to you. This part is very personal to me. I just don't like that kind of game. I just don't like because it reminds me of, we did on Watch and Play, the show where we play terrible games. We did a bunch of those mobile games, which are like BC 10,000 or whatever it was, where it's like a city building game, or the Ants one, which is also a city building game, but in an anthill. And they're all the same sort of thing where you have your base and you do this thing and then your base goes to level 2 and then it says now you have to do these 3 bullet points. And it's
And
like,
that will
okay,
get you to level 3.
so how do you do that? Oh, you got to go punch a tree for 10 minutes and then you come and do this. It's very like, it's like weirdly linear for at least the first while of the game.
Yeah.
And just very tedious. And it's not the kind of gameplay I enjoy, but also it sucks to look at. It's just, it's very like jarring and disparate and whatnot. And so, but that's why I'm just like, this is what people are so mad about.
Yeah.
Like, if you're having fun with it, go off. Like, have a good time. But like, people are so fervent on both, like attacking it and defending it. And I'm like, this game ain't worth this.
Yeah.
Just play your games. I don't know.
Yeah. This reminded me of a thing. We talked about this before, because people go on about how, Pokemon, we need an adult version of Pokemon. Like, because and there's multiple issues I have with that. One is kind of like the game came out when you were 10 years old and you've grown up with it, and therefore you're like, well, it has to have turned into a thing that I want for me because it's for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it never was. It was for that age bracket you were in at that time. If you've continued to play it, then you are playing something that they have continued to kind of target in that age bracket, potentially. I've never actually looked at the Pokemon company's marketing materials.
I'm here to tell you that, boy, howdy, 8-year-olds still love Pokemon.
And they will put up with a lot to play it. So.
Despite the fact that I'm watching over her shoulder and being like, this game could be so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Which, and this is a complete tangent, I have heard rumors that Pokemon Company is
considering the idea of letting the games cook longer before they come out so that you don't get a mainline game every year or something like that.
I feel like regardless of the actual quality of Palworld, the sales figures have to be lighting a fire under someone's ass.
Yeah, to be like, this is a thing that we should be thinking about, but also this is, if it's antithetical to the game that you want to provide, then there's that too. But the idea of a Pokemon game geared for adults, when I heard that I was like, oh, that's what people want. Okay, then you want a more complicated, you want moral ambiguity. Because that's what ladies and gentlemen, that's, kids run around playing guns with each other when they're 10 or 15. Kids don't run around like talking about how much they enjoyed My Dinner with Andre or talking about Sartre or anything like kind of shit, right?
No. People say they want an adult game. They don't mean Disco Elysium.
No.
They mean they want the same game but with guns and violence.
Yes, exactly. Not even sex, which is the thing that gets me, is I'm like, because you know what a fan of smut I am.
Oh, plenty of people want Pokemon sex. They just keep it to different parts of the internet.
Right. And I'm like, Pokemon Black and White, if I remember which one correctly, was literally about the bad guys were a huge conglomerate that were trying to screw up how things were working with Pokemon, but it ultimately became clear that their whole goal was we need to do away with the slavery of Pokemon, of people like capturing them and making them do stuff for them and employing them in all these different ways. It's like we want to do away with that completely, which then put you squarely on the side in terms of moral ambiguity. It puts you as the hero on the side of slavery.
Sounds to me like that game should have been called Pokemon Shades of Grey.
Yeah, and there's... So it exists. It's like, there exists a game where... Paul even brought this up. It's like Scarlet and Violet. I didn't know this. The bad guys in that are a bunch of kids who got bullied in school.
Team Star.
And they got together to support each other, and it's like, but then they kind of got out of hand, I guess is the idea. Is like, you can get together and take care of each other, but don't let it go to your head. I don't know.
But beyond them, there's not really any bad guys in the game.
And it's hard to say that when a game is like, we're trying to make a game for everyone. And so you're like, well, we have to kind of keep this in line with the youth. You're going to have to paint things with an incredibly broad brush. And you're not going to get into, the ideas of the finer, nuanced ideas of what adults have to put up with in their daily life. And frankly, I mean, from my perspective, I wouldn't want to deal with all that all the time if I could help it. But yeah, I'm not saying that Pokemon's right about everything that they're doing, obviously, either, because I'm not really a fan. I just happen to have a fan in the family.